But we just thought we'd do a small video while we travel, because it reminds us of so much, especially the emotion that we were feeling when we were coming up to Cape Reinga. Whoa. Our son was dropping us off to start the trail, and we had many feelings going through. Didn't we, Kev?
Yeah, no, a lot actually.
So,
but yeah, no, it's nice to be up here.
Yeah, it is nice to be up here. So we've had a few questions from people about preparing for the trail, and I think some of the advice we can give as we're older, I'm 54, Kev's 55, is don't worry too much. Everything actually falls into place, and the things you worry about don't actually eventuate. Like my worries were, are we crazy? Debatable.
Oh, we're definitely crazy. Yeah. Crazy is good. A bit of eccentricities makes the spice of life, I reckon.
Yeah. The hardest thing that you will do for the trail, well, I can only speak for ourselves, but the hardest part of the trail, without a doubt, was the preparation. It wasn't the long days, it was the preparation. And the older you get, I think, possibly the harder it is, because you're more set in your ways. It's not the expected thing to do, to just take off and walk the length of New Zealand. You've got, you know, for us, we had a business we had to sell off part of. We had children who were grown up and left home, a grandchild that we're going to miss. We had friends and family we were going to miss, and that felt like your heart being torn out. We had animals we had to rehome. We had a house that we had to finish renovating to rent out. And that was by far the hardest. And by the time we got onto a road heading up to Cape Reinga, we were pretty convinced once we took our first step that we'd be okay, but we were pretty nervous. Particularly me. For those that don't know, suffer from chronic anxiety. It's part of the reason why we're doing the trail. Yeah, so I was just about throwing up by the time we were heading towards Cape Reinga. And I think on my post on Facebook or Instagram, I put something like, you know, are we crazy? Can we pull out? Can we do this? You know, my worries were, have we got enough food? How are we going to walk 90 Mile Beach in 4 days? How are we going to, is the tent going to, we've only put it up once, you know, is it going to work? I've never used my sleeping system. You know, I know it works. I know it's warm. I've laid down on it. It feels great, but we just got so busy that we couldn't prepare ourselves physically. Are we fit enough? Yeah, what were your thoughts?
Well, mine were quite different, but I had just like this sense of elation, I suppose. So the first 20 metres of the trail, I sort of felt a little bit teary actually, and the sense of elation that we were finally here, because probably looking back now, the hardest part of the journey was getting from everyday life and actually making the time to go on an adventure like this, and to have sold the business and rented the home, got rid of the pets. You know, it was quite emotionally draining, and so to finally be doing your first steps and walking, for me, was a real sense of elation and freedom. The physical pain came later, but yeah, what a fantastic first 4 days, just meeting new people. Yeah. And I think, you know, everybody. We arrived at Twilight Beach, there's 18 people there, or it might have been 16, I can't exactly remember. We're still friends with quite a few of them now. But they also had, most of them were younger than us, bar one. And they were all a little bit nervous and anxious as too. You could feel it, you know. How are we going to do this? What are we going to do? Well, you know, we'll just do what we can do.
I think, just sorry to interrupt, but I think initially those first days on 90 Mile Beach, the thing that we were sorry, you might not be able to hear me, I hope you can, because we've only got one microphone we're sharing. The thing that freaked us out the most was the fact that you are not meant to camp in the dunes, and so straight off the bat you had a 12k day and then 3 30k days on the sand, and I just thought, I can't even walk 17k's on the flat without a pack. Seriously worried. And a lovely guy called Ed, who'd done the trail the year before, had got hold of me on Facebook, and he very wisely said, break it down. So break it down, get up early, do 10k's slots. And I thought, well, that's all very well for you. You're young and fit, but it worked. And the first 10 Ks, every 2 Ks, stop and stretch. And that's really, stretching is important. Every 5 Ks, have some chocolate. And every 10 Ks, stop for a really good break. And that's how we broke down 90 Mile Beach. And getting into camp at night, the first night was odd. It was only 12 Ks, but we were still pretty tired. We got the tides wrong and made a few mistakes. But everybody there was, yeah, as Kev said, they were all in the same boat. But interestingly, everybody was worried about how much gear they were carrying, you know, could they make the 30 Ks a day, all that sort of stuff. And they were younger than us and probably fitter than us. But as time went on, those questions and conversations were more about why are you doing the trail, which we'll talk about another time. But you know, why are you here? Because everybody wants to know what led you here. What, you know, is there a reason? Which was a very interesting progression, I guess. By the time you got into your second night and you'd done 30 Ks, we were broken, but we were elated and we knew we could do it. And that was a big...
Yeah, I was just going to say the whole mood changed with everybody when we got into Ahipara, because you'd knocked out your first 100k, and I think it was then the realisation that the whole group, everybody there with all their little insecurities, is realised we've got this, we can do it. And there was a whole shift in elation, and there was some good bonding and friendships made there, and along the beach. Physically, you're sore, but mentally it was a real high walking from Ahipara into Kaitaia, and we're all chatting, and it was awesome.
And what advice would you give people that are our age about pace and, you know, deadlines? And, you know, we're all used to working to deadlines and time limits, and, you know, you tend to put that in front of you and you think, well, we've got to get to this place tonight, we've got to get to that. You know, what would you say about that transition and thinking?
It took a while. I mean, we're fairly goal-driven, sort of, or have been, and so you had to get somewhere or smash out this or do that. But with the trail, just throw all that away, just enjoy the moment, and just take it in bite-sized pieces. And that's the key. And then listen to your body. If you're getting a bit of pain happening, just slow it down. You don't have to be there by 3:30. If you get in at 4:35, that's cool. No stress at all, and just enjoy the moment for what it is. And a lot of the anxiety you've got about injuries and pains, you get to learn what's just trail pain, because you just walk in pain, it's a fact, and actually what's trail ending pain. So you've got to distinguish between the two, and you'll learn your body. So for what I was stressing out about was sore knees and this, that and the other thing in the beginning, later on the trail was, that's just part and parcel of what it is. But then knowing that and the difference between actually what's an injury and is going to, you know, take you off the trail, basically.
Yeah, so some of the, I agree with Kev. So learning what trail pain is, and, you know, we talked about the TA hobble. We thought it was because of our age. It certainly isn't. I don't think I saw anybody that just got up sprightly in the morning. You go to bed the first month while your feet are adjusting and they feel like hot, severely hot. I don't even know how you describe it really. Pained things on the end of your legs, and you just wait for that pain to calm down. But it's not injury. If you push yourself, you will get injured. If you just walk at your own pace and stop when you need to stop, and listen to your body, and also listen to your head. So don't let one rule over the other. So if you get some pains, don't suddenly have big fears that it's a game changer. If you go at your own pace, you should be fine. You know, we've got some ideas on footwear and socks and blister protection, which is super important, which we'll do another video on. And there's lots of stuff online anyhow, but certainly the research into the gear that we used beforehand was really important to avoid pain, blisters, carrying too much, all that sort of stuff. But
you pack for your fears, or that's what we found. We saw, I mean, the first night we cracked up, we saw I'll name her actually, Anne-Marie.
We love you, Anne-Marie.
It was had like a 4-pack of toilet paper hanging off the back of her pack.
We didn't know at that time that it was Anne-Marie.
No, and we just thought, what WTF?
Yeah.
And so, but you know, and then
and it turned out, yonks later, like I don't know, 2 months later, we're sitting down talking about that first night, and I said, I couldn't believe it. This girl, I don't know who she was, but she pulled out a 4-pack of toilet paper out of her pack. And Anne-Marie and Jean-Maxime just cracked up laughing, and Anne-Marie went, it was me. And because they'd been caught out tramping in Canada somewhere, I think it was, and they'd run out of toilet paper. So you do pack for your fears. So most people, once they got to Ahipara, were ditching stuff left, right and centre because they realised their packs were too... Whoa, I'll just show you, this bridge is quite small, narrow for what we're towing on the back, which is a big American fifth wheel, which we are living in. So, yeah, I don't know whether you can see it out the back there, but it's a bit of a beast. So yeah, you do pack for your fears, and you do have you've got a chance to change what you've got. So don't panic, but you know, try and get it right the first time, but don't panic. You can send stuff home, you can buy stuff that you're missing. New Zealand, if you're from overseas, New Zealand is well equipped with hiking gear, you know, all your necessities. You don't need to... I saw somebody said about ibuprofen, bring it into the country because it's too expensive. I'm not sure where they got that from, but you know, we're not that backward. We're pretty civilized here.
Although some of the specialist lightweight stuff, if you've got the budget to purchase it, it's worth it, because every kilo over a long distance counts. So you're better off having less things and less weight than packing too much for your fares and having a heavy pack, because that will wear down on you and you're more likely to have injury. But you know, the weights range, and depends how much food and water you can carry, but if you can be under 15 kg with food and water, I think that's a pretty realistic target for most people.
Yeah, so we have a Z-Pack tent, which is from the States. I bought the best sleeping bag I thought I could in New Zealand and did a trial run in Mount Ruapehu, and it froze. I bought a sleeping mat online from Nature Hike, and I was just freezing, and I'm a cold sleeper, and so we ended up upgrading our sleeping mats to Exped Mat, which was just so good. And I bought a quilt, an Enlightenment equipment quilt from the States, and no regrets whatsoever. It's lighter, it goes to -12. You're never going to be in -12, well, I hope not, but that's your survival rate, that's not your comfort rate. And really, especially at our age, you want to be comfortable. So, you know, it's not... whatever you can afford, get the best quality comfort for sleeping without compromising on the weight too much. So yeah, that would be my advice there. This is so beautiful here.
Yeah, I mean, it's sorting out your priorities and what's important to you. So, I mean, everybody's got different gear and different thoughts on the trail, but for us, our sleeping at night was comfortable. So we're both side sleepers, so we had to have a think about that, and longitudinal baffles were much more comfortable than having cross baffles. So we're going to actually do some vids and talk about this sort of stuff, and definitely money spent on sleeping bags. I mean, all the sleeping bags that are warm in New Zealand are quite heavy, but there's some specialist stuff out of the States which is, you know, like they've got the long trails over there. It's really awesome. You save half a kilo and you're warm as, you know. And the tent, you've got a sub 700 gram 3-person tent, you know, amazing. So yeah, there's a few things like that. But so for us, shelter and sleeping comfort were two priorities. So we didn't have the lightest sleeping mat you could possibly buy, but we might have given away 200 grams on what the lightest you can buy, but man, it was comfy. So a few compromises were worth the weight in gold. Yeah. So you just got to look at your target overall weight, and then you make a set of compromises for what suits you, basically.
We'll also do a video about food, because I have a few intolerance issues, and we're lucky, we're based here in New Zealand, so I'm a really clean eater, and Kev goes hunting, so we use venison and dehydrated it and made it into lots of meals. Majority was successful, delicious, nutritious, dehydrated, put into a silver pack and what do you call them? Mylar bags, and perfectly good. But I made far too many meals. I made all my lunches as well, but it just wasn't realistic to reconstitute a meal. So what did work was a big luscious tomato soup that I dehydrated. I put the dehydrated tomato soup into the wide mouth Nalgene bottle, that was it, and then put the vermicelli rice noodles into it, and then boiling water, popped the lid on it and stuck it on the outside of my pack. And by the time we got to where we were going to eat at the middle of the day, that would be reconstituted. We'd just have to warm it up, throw some cheese in it. Cheese was your friend, and you had a delicious warm meal. But otherwise, for us it was gluten-free wraps with some tube avocado and tuna and cheese. I mean, cheese would get a bit sticky, but it didn't go off. It's amazing what you get used to. The only meals that I need to make for the South Island are really the evening meals. I went way over the top because I packed for my fares. Actually, if you've got any questions, put them in the comments below, because it would be good to be answering questions that are specific. Unfortunately, coming from overseas, you can't bring food into the country.
Yeah, New Zealand's got a strict customs thing, so you don't
try. There's lots of, you can buy your dehydrated food, and there's lots of options here.
Because food's totally different for every individual.
Oh yeah.
So saying what food you should take is probably the scope's too wide for that, really. But certainly the dehydrating and actually making some of your own meals, that'll be worth your own bit, I think.
Yeah, and it worked really well. It means you're getting some vegetables, because you can dehydrate your veggies and have more than peas and carrots. And some weren't that successful, like dehydrated hummus. Don't do that again. Yeah, so I really just wanted to cover off some interesting emotions and feelings that we had as we're heading to the trail. You got this, and you can do this. If you're preparing and nervous, just don't panic. It'll all come together.
So what would you wrap up as your final comment, Claire?
Just do it. Don't let the fear stop you. Fear stops us from too much in this world. What about you, Kev?
Get out and do it, and you don't want to be lying in your bed wishing you'd done something at the end of your day. So if you can physically do it and you want to do it, just make it happen. It'll be worth it.
It will be worth it. So if you've got any questions, pop them in the comments below. We get to all your questions and answer you all. If you've got any ideas of what you want to see in the future, let us know. We're preparing for the South Island at the moment, which is a different kettle of fish again, but nowhere near as nervous as I was in the North Island, just because it was also new. So yeah, get out there and do it. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this, and have a great day.